The room drowns in darkness, except for city lights bleeding through floor-to-ceiling windows. Two cribs sit side by side. 4-month-old twins, Noah and Mia, sleep restlessly inside, their small bodies twisting, reaching for something that isn't there. Lucas Ham, 31, sits on the bed's edge, shirtless, exhausted, his jaw locked so tight it aches, hands gripping his knees until his knuckles bleach white. Across from him, Vanessa Reed stands by the window, fully dressed in a tailored blazer and slacks at 3 a.m. Her suitcase waits by the door like a silent verdict. She doesn't look at him when she speaks. Her voice is steady, cold, practiced.
I'm leaving in the morning.
Lucas's head snaps up. His voice cracks.
Vanessa, we talked about this. You said you'd try.
She turns then, and her eyes are dry, resolved, empty. I did try, Lucas. For 4 months I tried. I held them, I fed them, I stayed. Her voice breaks, just once, just enough to reveal the truth underneath.
But every time I look at them, all I see is everything I'm losing.
Lucas stands, his hands trembling. They're our children, Vanessa, not a career setback, not a sacrifice. Our children. She picks up her suitcase. Her hand is steady now.
I never wanted this. You promised it wouldn't change anything.
She gestures toward the cribs, and for a moment, just a moment, her mask slips.
But it changed everything.
So you just walk away? Like they don't exist?
Lucas's voice is raw, breaking. She opens the door, steps through. The lock clicks with a finality that echoes through the silence.
Tell them I loved them enough to let them have the mother they deserve.
Behind him, one twin begins to cry. Soft, low, endless. That was the last time Vanessa Reed held her children, and 3 years later, 99 nannies have failed. Welcome to K Stories by Emma. Before we continue, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any story. 3 years after that night, Lucas Hand sat alone in his corner office on the 42nd floor of Viridia AI's headquarters in downtown Sioux Falls. Outside, the city sprawled beneath a gray October sky, lifeless and cold. Inside, his assistant Jin Ho stood at the door, holding a resignation letter, the 99th in 3 years. Ms. Wang, the latest nanny, hadn't left angry. She'd left broken. Jin Ho's voice was careful, measured. She wanted you to hear this. He pressed play on the recording. Ms. Wang's voice filled the room, soft, defeated, haunted. It's not that the children are difficult, Mr. Han. It's that they're waiting. Every night they sit by the window, watching the door, like they expect someone to come back. And when no one does, they just go quiet again. I can't reach them. No one can, because they're not looking for a nanny. They're looking for the person who left. Lucas played it 3 times. Each time the words cut deeper, carving out pieces of him he didn't know were still there. Jin Ho placed a manila folder on the desk, clean, clinical, devastating. A referral from Dr. Yuna Beck, a child psychologist specializing in attachment disorders. Inside, a diagnosis for Noah and Mia Han, reactive attachment disorder. The report was blunt. Without intervention, their emotional development would be permanently stunted. They would never learn to trust, never learn to love, never learn to feel safe. Lucas read it 3 times. Each word was a knife twisting in his chest. He'd built an empire on precision and control. He could predict market trends, negotiate billion-dollar mergers, command entire boardrooms with a single word. But he couldn't make his own children feel safe. For the first time in 3 years, he admitted the truth to himself. He didn't know how to fix this, and it terrified him in a way no business deal ever had. Dr. Beck had recommended someone, a trauma specialist, not the most credentialed, not the most experienced, but the only one willing to take the case after 99 failures. Her name was Zaria Clark. He called the number on the referral. She answered on the third ring, her voice warm but direct, no preamble, no sales pitch, no comforting lies. How long have they been like this? 3 years. What do they do when you leave the room? Lucas hesitated. They just sit there, waiting. When was the last time they laughed? Silence stretched between them like a canyon. Lucas opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. He couldn't answer. Finally, Zaria spoke. I'll come tomorrow, 3 p.m., but I'm not there to interview, Mr. Han. I'm there to observe, and if I don't think I can help them, I won't take your money. The line went dead. The next afternoon, Zaria Clark arrived at the penthouse. She wasn't what Lucas expected. Young, late 20s, black, with deep ebony brown skin that caught the light and natural hair pulled back in a loose bun. Dressed in jeans and a cream sweater, carrying a worn messenger bag instead of a briefcase. She didn't shake his hand, didn't smile, just nodded once and said, "Where are they?" Lucas led her to the playroom. Noah and Mia were on the floor, surrounded by blocks and stuffed animals they never played with. They looked up when the door opened, wary, cautious, guarded. Zaria walked in, sat down on the floor, and did nothing. She didn't engage them, didn't speak, didn't try to touch them or play with them. She just sat, watching. Lucas stood in the doorway, confused, frustrated, waiting for her to do something. But she remained perfectly still, her eyes moving between the twins with a focus that felt almost clinical. Noah and Mia glanced at her occasionally, curious, uncertain. For 3 hours, the room was silent except for the soft sounds of blocks being stacked and knocked down. At 6 p.m., Lucas entered. It's time for their bedtime routine. Zaria stood slowly, brushed off her jeans, and finally spoke. "They're not broken, Mr. Han." Lucas's throat tightened. "Then what's wrong with them?" She looked him in the eye, and her gaze was unflinching. "They're protecting themselves." "From what?" Her next words stopped his heart. "From you leaving, too." That night, Lucas couldn't sleep. Zaria's words circled his mind like vultures. They're protecting themselves from you leaving, too. He sat in the twins' darkened room, watching them sleep, or try to. Even in sleep, they were restless. Mia whimpered softly, her tiny fists clenching the blanket. Noah's face twisted in some silent dream he couldn't wake from. Lucas had watched them like this for 3 years, waiting, hoping, failing. At 2 a.m., headlights swept across the window. A car door slammed. Moments later, his mother appeared in the doorway. Madam Choi Eun-suk didn't announce herself. She never did. She just stood there in her navy coat, her expression carved from stone and exhaustion. She'd driven 2 hours from Rapid City in the middle of the night because she knew her son was drowning. She sat beside him on the floor. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, her voice broke the silence. What did the specialist say? Lucas told her everything. The diagnosis, reactive attachment disorder, Zaria's observation, the impossible truth his children needed what he couldn't give them, a mother who stays. Madam Choi was silent for so long Lucas thought she might not respond. Then she said something that changed everything. "Then give them one." Lucas stared at her. "What?" "Marry her." His voice sharpened. "I'm still legally married to Vanessa. You want me to—" "Not legally. Not yet." Madam Choi's eyes were fierce, burning with a mother's desperate love. But the children don't understand legalities. They understand presence. 2 people, together, staying. If this woman is willing, give them what they need to see. Lucas's first instinct was refusal. It was insane, unethical, impossible. But then he looked at his children, Noah's small chest rising and falling, Mia's fingers curled around her stuffed bunny, and the refusal died in his throat. He'd tried everything else. 99 nannies, therapists, schedules, structure, control. Nothing worked. Maybe his mother was right. Maybe the answer wasn't logic. Maybe it was simply showing up. The next morning, Lucas called Zarya. She answered on the first ring, her voice still rough with sleep. "Mr. Hahn? I need to meet with you, not at the penthouse, somewhere neutral." Silence. Then, "When?" "Today. Noon." They met at a coffee shop in downtown Sioux Falls. Quiet, anonymous, the kind of place where no one looked twice at a Korean CEO and a black woman sitting across from each other in a corner booth. Zarya arrived exactly on time, guarded and wary. She sat down without ordering anything. Lucas didn't waste time. "I have a proposal." "I'm listening." "A 1-year contract, you move into the penthouse, share parenting duties, appear as my partner in public, $200,000, enough to pay off your brother's medical debt and start over." Zarya's jaw tightened. "You're asking me to fake a marriage." "I'm asking you to save my children." She stared at him across the table, her espresso-brown eyes searching his face for something, truth, maybe, or desperation. "And what happens at the end of the year?" Lucas didn't hesitate. "You leave, with your debt cleared and a recommendation that will open any door you want." Zarya didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulled out her phone, unlocked it, and slid it across the table. The photo showed a man, tall, broad-shouldered, smiling, her brother, Kieran, alive, healthy, happy. This was taken 2 weeks before he died. Leukemia. The treatments cost everything, and when the bills kept coming after he was gone, her voice fractured. "I couldn't bury him for 3 months because I couldn't afford it." She locked the phone, pulled it back, met his eyes. "So yeah, Mr. Hahn, I know what it's like to need something you can't buy." The weight of her words settled between them like a stone. Zarya stood to leave. Lucas's heart sank. She was going to refuse. But at the door, she stopped, turned back. 1 year, 200,000, but I have conditions. Lucas nodded. "Name them." She stepped closer, her voice low and fierce. "No lies to the children. If they ask if we're together, we say yes. If they ask if we love each other, we say yes. Because the second they sense we're pretending, this whole thing falls apart." Lucas met her eyes. Agreed. She held out her hand. They shook. The deal was made. And neither of them knew that in 1 year, the hardest part wouldn't be pretending to love each other, it would be pretending they don't. Zarya moved into the penthouse on a cold November afternoon. The guest room was larger than any apartment she'd ever lived in. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Sioux Falls skyline, a king-sized bed with crisp white linens that looked untouched, a marble bathroom with heated floors she didn't know how to turn on. It felt like a hotel, sterile, beautiful, empty. She unpacked slowly, methodically, each folded shirt, each hung dress, a quiet reminder whispered to herself. This is temporary. 1 year. Don't get attached. She placed a photo of Kieran on the nightstand. His smile stared back at her, frozen in time. A promise made, a debt unpaid. She could do this. 1 year. Just one. That night, Lucas tried to put the twins to bed alone, the same routine he'd followed for 3 years. Bath time, warm water, gentle soap, pajamas with little dinosaurs and stars, story time in the rocking chair. He read Goodnight Moon twice, his voice steady and calm, sang a lullaby his mother had taught him when he was young, rocked them gently, one hand on each crib rail. Nothing worked. Noah whimpered, his small fists clenching the blanket. Mia's legs kicked restlessly, her face scrunched in frustration. They weren't screaming. They never screamed. They just existed in this quiet, endless distress that broke him more than any tantrum ever could. By 8:30, Lucas was exhausted, defeated. He sat on the floor between their cribs, his head in his hands, shoulders slumped under the weight of 3 years of failure. Zarya appeared in the doorway. She was in sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt, her hair loose around her shoulders, framing her face in soft curls. She didn't ask permission, didn't announce herself. She just walked in, sat down beside him on the floor, and waited. Lucas looked at her, confused. "What are you?" She held up a hand. "Shh." They sat in silence. The twins watched them, two adults sitting close, not speaking, just present. Noah's crying softened. Mia's restless kicking slowed. Minutes passed. The room held its breath. Then, slowly, tentatively, Noah reached through the bars of his crib. His small hand found Zaria's fingers. She held him gently, her thumb brushing over his tiny knuckles in a rhythm as old as time. Mia watched. Then she turned, climbed into Lucas's lap, and curled against his chest. Her breathing evened out. Noah's eyes drifted closed, his hand still wrapped around Zaria's finger. For the first time in 3 years, the twins fell asleep without crying. Lucas sat frozen, afraid to move, afraid to breathe, afraid to shatter whatever fragile magic had just occurred. Mia's small body was warm against his chest. Her heartbeat was steady, trusting, alive. Across from him, Zaria sat perfectly still, Noah's hand in hers, her eyes closed. He watched her, the way her shoulders relaxed for the first time since she'd arrived, the way her breathing slowed to match Noah's. She looked peaceful, beautiful, real. Something in his chest cracked open, something he'd locked away the night Vanessa left. They sat there for another 20 minutes, not speaking, barely moving. When they were certain the twins were deeply asleep, they carefully, silently laid Noah and Mia in their cribs. Lucas covered Mia with her blanket, soft pink with embroidered stars. Zaria tucked Noah's favorite stuffed elephant beside him, positioning it just right. In the hallway, the door closed softly behind them. They finally breathed. Lucas leaned against the wall, eyes closed, overwhelmed. Zaria stood a few feet away, arms crossed, guarding herself like she'd learned to do long ago. Lucas opened his eyes, looked at her. "Thank you." Zaria's jaw tightened. Don't. Don't what? Don't thank me, I'm just doing my job." But her voice wavered, just slightly, just enough. Lucas took a step closer. The hallway was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the nightlight from the twins' room. He was close enough now to see the exhaustion in her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way she was holding herself together by sheer will. "Zaria!" She looked up, their eyes met. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. The air between them was charged, fragile, terrifying. Then Zaria stepped back. "Good night, Mr. Hahn." She disappeared into her room, the door clicked shut. Lucas stood alone in the hallway, his heart pounding, wondering what had just happened. Inside her room, Zaria leaned against the door, her hand pressed to her chest, feeling her heart race. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, 1 year, it's just 1 year. Don't feel anything, don't fall. But even as she said it, she knew it was already too late. Because the moment Noah's hand found hers, the moment she saw Lucas holding Mia like she was the most precious thing in the world, something shifted, and she was terrified of what happens next. The first week passed in careful rhythm. Zaria and Lucas established routines with military precision. Breakfast at 7 a.m. Lucas made coffee, Zaria prepared oatmeal with fresh berries for the twins. Morning playtime in the living room while soft jazz hummed in the background. Lunch at noon, at 6, bath time at 7, bedtime at 8, with both adults sitting together on the floor between the cribs until the children slept. They were polite, professional, careful. They did not touch unless the twins were watching. By the second week, the twins were noticeably different. Mia talked more, full sentences now, not fragments. She asked questions constantly. "Why is the sky blue? Where do birds sleep? What's your favorite color, Mommy?" The first time she said Mommy, Zaria froze. Lucas saw it, the panic in her eyes, the way her breath caught like she'd been punched. But she didn't correct Mia. She just smiled, stroked her hair, and said, "Yellow, like sunshine." Noah was quieter, more observant, but he'd started laughing. Real laughter, bright, bubbling, unguarded. He reached for Lucas now, without hesitation, climbed into his lap during story time. fell asleep with his small hand fisted in Lucas's shirt. The children were healing, but the adults were unraveling. Zaria kept a journal, clinical notes on the twins' progress. Noah made eye contact for 7 seconds today. Mia initiated physical affection without prompting. But late at night, alone in her room, she wrote things she'd never say aloud. Lucas hummed while making coffee this morning. I didn't know he could hum. It made me smile. I shouldn't have smiled. Lucas buried himself in work, staying late at the office, taking calls in his home office until midnight. But he found himself watching her, the way she moved through the penthouse like she belonged there, the way she laughed at the twins' jokes, the way she sang that lullaby, low and warm and achingly beautiful. He was in trouble. One evening, Madame Choi visited for dinner. She watched Zaria and Lucas move around each other in the kitchen. He chopped vegetables, she stirred soup, they passed utensils without speaking. A choreography learned without trying. The twins sat at the table, coloring, content. After dinner, Madame Choi pulled Lucas aside. "You're both so afraid." Lucas frowned. Of what? Of feeling something real. She looked at him with the kind of knowing only a mother possesses. She's good for them, and she's good for you. Don't waste this. It's not real, Uma. It's an arrangement. She touched his face gently. Is it? Because when you look at her, you don't look like a man pretending. That night, Lucas couldn't sleep. He walked to the kitchen for water. Zaria was already there, sitting at the counter in the dark, drinking tea. They both froze, caught. Neither spoke. Then, slowly, Lucas sat beside her, not close, just near. They sat in silence for 10 minutes. The city lights glowed beyond the windows. The penthouse held its breath. Finally, Zaria whispered, "They called me Mommy today." Lucas nodded. "I heard." Her voice cracked. "I shouldn't let them. When this is over." "I know." More silence. Then Lucas, so quietly she almost didn't hear, "Thank you for staying." She didn't look at him. "I signed a contract." Still. She stood, rinsed her mug, and walked away. But at the doorway, she stopped. "Good night, Lucas." Not Mr. Han. Lucas. It was the first time she'd used his name. Lucas sat alone in the dark kitchen, his heart pounding. Something had shifted. The walls they'd built were cracking, and he didn't know if he wanted to rebuild them or let them fall. 3 a.m. Lucas woke to the sound of crying. Not the twins, but something different. Adult, muffled, raw. He got up, followed it to Zaria's room. Her door was cracked open. Inside, she sat on the edge of the bed, phone in her hand, shoulders shaking. On the screen, a photo of Kieran, smiling, alive, gone. Today would have been his 33rd birthday. Lucas knocked softly. Zaria startled, quickly wiping her face. "I'm fine, go back to bed." But her voice was wrecked, shattered. Lucas didn't leave. He stepped inside, slowly, carefully, giving her space to refuse. She didn't. He sat on the floor, his back against the wall, giving her distance but staying present. "Tell me about him." Zaria's first instinct was to refuse, to rebuild the wall. But it was 3 a.m., and she was so tired of carrying this alone. So she talked. About Kieran, how he raised her after their parents died in a car accident when she was 8. How he worked 2 jobs to keep her out of foster care permanently. How he taught her to ride a bike, helped her with homework, scared off her first terrible boyfriend. How he got sick when she was 24, leukemia. How the treatments drained everything, savings, hope, time. How she watched him fade day by day until there was nothing left but medical debt and memories. "He made me promise," she whispered, "that I'd live big, that I wouldn't let his death make me small." She laughed bitterly. "And here I am, faking a marriage for money." Lucas's voice was gentle. "You're helping 2 children heal. That's not small." She looked at him, really looked. You don't know me, Lucas. You don't know what I've done, the mistakes I've made. Tell me. And she did. The foster homes, the families who gave up on her, the years of feeling disposable, the walls she built to survive, the fear that if she lets anyone in, they'll leave, like everyone always does. Lucas listened, didn't interrupt, didn't try to fix, just listened. And when she was done, when the words ran out and the silence settled, he said, I know what it's like to feel like you failed someone. He told her about Vanessa, the real story, how he pushed her to have children when she wasn't ready, how he ignored the signs of her struggling, how he chose his company's reputation over getting her help, how he watched her walk out and did nothing to stop her because his pride wouldn't let him beg. I tell myself I did everything I could, but the truth is, I didn't. I let her go, and my children paid the price. They sat in the quiet of her room, two broken people who'd learned to survive alone. Zaria slid off the bed, sat on the floor across from him. Their knees almost touched. Why are you telling me this? Lucas met her eyes. Because you're not the only one pretending to be whole. The air between them was thick, charged. Zaria's breath caught. Lucas's hand moved, just slightly, just enough, and his fingers brushed hers on the floor between them. Neither pulled away. From the hallway, a small voice, Mommy? They both froze. Zaria pulled her hand back, stood quickly. Mia was in the doorway, clutching her stuffed bunny, rubbing her eyes. I had a bad dream. Zaria knelt, opened her arms. Mia ran into them, buried her face in Zaria's neck. You're okay, baby. Mommy's here. Lucas stood, watched them. Mia peeked at him over Zaria's shoulder. Daddy too? He moved to them, wrapped his arms around them both. The three of them stood there, Zaria holding Mia, Lucas holding both of them. A family. Real or fake, he didn't know anymore, and he was starting not to care. Later, after Mia was back asleep in her crib, Lucas and Zaria stood in the hallway. They didn't speak, didn't touch, but something had changed. The walls were cracking, and neither of them knew how to stop it, or if they wanted to. Lucas received an invitation to the Iowa Technology Council's annual gala in Des Moines, a black-tie event where tech leaders, investors, and politicians mingled under crystal chandeliers and false smiles. He'd attended every year for the past decade, always alone. This year, Jinho suggested he bring Zaria. If you want people to believe this is real, you need to be seen together. Lucas hesitated. The gala was in Vanessa City. There was a chance she'd be there. But the twins' therapy required consistency, and consistency meant being seen as a united front. He asked Zaria. She agreed. When he offered to buy her a dress, she refused. I can dress myself. Pride. Always pride. The night of the gala, Zaria emerged from her room in a deep emerald dress. Simple, elegant, stunning. Lucas forgot how to breathe. She noticed, looked away quickly. Is it too much? No, it's perfect. The drive to Des Moines was quiet. Tension hummed between them like a live wire. When they arrived, the ballroom was a sea of tailored suits and glittering gowns. Lucas's hand found the small of Zaria's back, a practiced gesture meant to look natural, but the heat of his palm through the thin fabric of her dress was anything but casual. They navigated the room together, introductions, small talk, business discussions, and then the stares began. Subtle at first, then overt, whispers behind champagne flutes, eyes that moved from Lucas's face to Zaria's skin and back again, making calculations, drawing conclusions. A white woman in diamonds approached, her smile sharp enough to cut. Lucas Hahn, I didn't know you were seeing anyone. Where did you two meet? Before Zaria could answer, the woman added, You're stunning, dear. So exotic. Zaria's jaw tightened. Lucas felt her body go rigid under his hand. His voice went cold, the kind of cold that had silenced boardrooms and ended careers. Her name is Zaria Clark, and she's not exotic. She's brilliant, compassionate, and the woman I'm building a life with. You will show her respect, or you'll never attend another event in this state." The ballroom quieted. The woman's face drained of color. She stammered an apology and retreated. Lucas guided Zaria away, his hand still steady on her back. Outside on the terrace, Zaria was shaking, not from cold, from rage, from humiliation, from the weight of 1,000 microaggressions she'd endured in her life. Lucas turned her to face him. "Are you okay? Why did you do that?" "Because no one disrespects my family." The word hung between them. Family. Zaria's eyes searched his face. "We're not a family, Lucas. We're an arrangement." "Are we?" His voice was low, intense. "Because it doesn't feel like an arrangement when you sing to Mia at night, or when Noah asks me if you're staying forever, or when I look at you and forget this was supposed to be temporary." Zaria's breath caught. "Lucas." I know. We agreed, no feelings, no complications, but I'm standing here, and I'm looking at you, and I can't pretend anymore." Before Zaria could respond, the terrace doors opened. A voice cold and familiar. "Lucas." They both turned. Standing in the doorway, backlit by the ballroom's golden glow, was Vanessa Reed. She was thinner than Lucas remembered, sharper, her beauty turned brittle. Her eyes moved from Lucas to Zaria and back again. Her smile was poison. "We need to talk." Lucas's hand tightened on Zaria's back, protective, possessive. "Not here." Vanessa's smile didn't waver. "Fine. Tomorrow. My office. 10 a.m. Come alone." She disappeared back into the ballroom. Zaria was trembling. Lucas pulled her close. Too close for pretense. Too close for an arrangement. His forehead rested against hers. "Whatever happens, I'm not letting you go." But even as he said it, he wondered if he had the strength to keep that promise. They drove back to Sioux Falls in silence. City lights blurred past. Zaria stared out the window, her mind spinning. Lucas's words echoed. "I can't pretend anymore." Her heart was pounding. She should pull away, rebuild the walls, remind him this was temporary. But when she closed her eyes, all she saw was the way he looked at her on the terrace, like she was the only person in the world. Back at the penthouse, it was nearly midnight. The twins were asleep, watched over by Madame Choi. The house was quiet. Lucas poured 2 glasses of wine, something he never did. Zaria accepted hers, their fingers brushing. The touch was electric. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. The space between them felt like a chasm. Lucas spoke first. "I'm sorry for what I said on the terrace. I shouldn't have—" "Don't." Zaria's voice was soft. "Don't apologize." She set down her glass, looked at him, really looked. "You scared me tonight. I didn't mean to. Not because of what you said, because of how much I wanted you to mean it." The air shifted. Lucas set down his own glass. Slowly, he moved closer, not touching, not yet, just close enough that she could feel the heat of him. "Zaria." Her eyes closed shut. "This is a mistake." "Probably." "We agreed." "I know what we agreed." She opened her eyes. He was so close now, close enough to count his eyelashes, close enough to see the way his chest rose and fell unsteady. "If we do this," her voice was a whisper, "everything changes." "I know." Lucas's hand lifted, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. His fingers brushed her cheek, feather light, reverent. Zaria's breath hitched. Her eyes fluttered closed. "Tell me to stop." She didn't. His thumb traced the line of her jaw, down to her chin. Her lips parted just barely. He leaned in, so slowly it was almost painful. His forehead rested against hers. Their breaths mingled. The world narrowed to this. The warmth of his hand, the scent of his skin, the way her heart was trying to break out of her chest. Zaria. Her name was a prayer on his lips. She closed the distance. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, testing, then deeper. Her hands found his chest, fisting in the fabric of his shirt, his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, closer, until there was no space left between them. They broke apart, gasping. Lucas's eyes were dark, searching hers. "Are you sure?" Zarya answered by kissing him again, harder this time, desperate. 3 months of restraint, of carefully maintained distance, shattering in an instant. He stood pulling her with him, their bodies pressed together, his hands in her hair, her fingers tracing the muscles of his back through his shirt. They moved, stumbling, kissing, unable to let go, toward his room. The door closed behind them. Morning light filtered through the curtains. Zarya woke slowly, disoriented. She was in Lucas's bed. His arm was draped over her waist. His chest was warm against her back. For a moment, just one perfect, fragile moment, she let herself feel safe. Then reality crashed in. She slipped out of bed carefully, quietly. Lucas stirred but didn't wake. She gathered her clothes, dressed quickly, and escaped to her own room. Inside, she locked the door and leaned against it, her hand over her mouth, heart racing. What have I done? Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We know about the arrangement, the fake marriage, the expired visa. You have 48 hours to leave the country voluntarily, or we'll make this very public. USCIS Investigative Unit." Zarya's blood ran cold. There was a knock on her door. Lucas's voice, soft. "Zarya, are you okay?" She stared at the phone, at the message that could destroy everything, then at the door. Behind it, a man she was falling for, children she was starting to love, a life she was never supposed to want. She didn't answer. Zarya didn't leave her room for 6 hours. She sat on the floor, phone in hand, staring at the message. 48 hours. She should tell Lucas, but how? "By the way, I'm being investigated for immigration fraud, and our fake marriage is about to blow up in both our faces." She heard him in the hallway, heard him pause outside her door, waiting. But she couldn't face him, not yet. At 10 a.m., Lucas left for his meeting with Vanessa. He knocked on Zarya's door before he went. "I'll be back in 2 hours. Can we talk then?" Zarya opened the door just enough to see him. She looked wrecked, eyes red, face pale. Lucas's stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" She shook her head. "Just be careful, with her." He wanted to push, to demand answers, but the twins were calling for breakfast and he was already late. "We'll talk when I get back." He left. Zarya watched from the window as his car disappeared into traffic. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Zarya almost didn't answer, but the twins ran to the door, excited. Maybe it's Daddy, maybe he forgot something. She opened it. Standing in the hallway, perfectly composed, was Vanessa Reed. Vanessa's eyes swept over Zarya, assessing, calculating. "So you're the nanny." Zarya's spine straightened. "I'm Zarya Clark." "I know who you are." Vanessa stepped inside without being invited. The twins froze. Mia's small hand gripped Zarya's pant leg tighter. She looked up at Zarya with confusion and fear. Vanessa's eyes cut to Zarya like a blade. Zarya kept her voice calm, steady. "Kids, why don't you go play in your room for a few minutes? Grown-ups need to talk." Noah didn't move. He was watching Vanessa with a child's instinct for danger. But Mia tugged him away and they disappeared down the hall. The moment they were gone, Vanessa's mask dropped. "How much is he paying you?" Zarya's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business." "Everything about my children is my business." Vanessa stepped closer. "You think you can just walk into their lives and replace me?" "I'm not trying to replace anyone. I'm trying to help them heal." "From what? From me?" Vanessa's voice rose. "I'm their mother. You're just the hired help playing house." Zarya didn't flinch. "Then where have you been for the past 3 years?" The question landed like a slap. Vanessa's composure cracked. You don't know anything about me, about what I've been through. You're right, I don't. But I know what they've been through, and I know they're finally starting to feel safe. Vanessa pulled out her phone, showed Zaria a photo, a legal document. Custody petition, filed this morning. I want joint custody, 50-50, and I will win. Zaria's stomach dropped. Lucas will fight you. Let him. Vanessa's smile was cold. I'm an American mother who made a mistake and wants to make it right. He's an immigrant workaholic who's living with his employee. Who do you think the courts will side with? She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. And when they find out about your little immigration problem, you'll be gone, and my children will finally come home. Vanessa left. The door clicked shut. Zaria stood frozen in the middle of the living room, the walls closing in. From the hallway, Mia's voice, small and scared. Is she going to take us away from you, Mommy? Zaria turned. Both the twins were standing there, holding hands, eyes wide with fear. She knelt, pulled them into her arms. No, baby, I won't let that happen. But even as she said it, she didn't know if it was a promise she could keep. Lucas returned from the meeting with Vanessa pale and shaken. She'd been calm, controlled, almost kind, which terrified him more than anger would have. She'd laid out her terms: joint custody, public reconciliation for her campaign, shared decision-making. When he refused, she smiled and said, "Then I'll see you in court." He walked into the penthouse to find Zaria packing. Lucas froze in the doorway of her room, clothes scattered on the bed, her suitcase open. "What are you doing?" Zaria didn't look at him. "I'm leaving." "What? Why?" She finally turned and he saw it. The fear, the exhaustion, the resignation. She showed him the text from USCIS. His face went white. "How did they— Does it matter?" Her voice was hollow. "It's over, Lucas. Vanessa knows about my visa. She's going to use it, and when she does, I'll be deported and you'll lose custody anyway, because I'll be proof that you're unfit." Lucas was across the room in 3 strides. He took her hands, forced her to look at him. "We'll fight this. I'll get the best immigration lawyer in the country. You can't fix this with money." Her voice broke. "This is my fault. I never should have agreed to this. I never should have—" She cut herself off, pulling away. "Never should have what?" She looked at him, and the truth was written all over her face. "I never should have let myself fall for you." The confession hung between them, raw, devastating. Lucas's hands cradled her face. "Then don't go. Stay. Fight with me." "I can't. If I stay, I destroy you, and them. If you leave, you destroy us anyway." From the doorway, a small voice. "Mommy, are you leaving?" They both turned. Noah and Mia stood there clutching their stuffed animals, tears streaming down their faces. They'd heard everything. Zaria dropped to her knees. The twins ran to her, sobbing. "Don't go, Mommy. Please don't go." "I don't want to, baby, but sometimes grown-ups have to do hard things to protect the people they love." Noah's voice was fierce, desperate. "But you promised! You said you'd stay!" Lucas knelt beside them, wrapped his arms around all 3 of them. "She's not going anywhere. I won't let her." Zaria looked at him over the twins' heads. "Lucas, we make this real, legally, publicly, permanently." She stared at him. "What?" "Marry me, for real this time. Not an arrangement, a real marriage. I'll petition for your green card as my spouse. We'll fight Vanessa together, as a family." Zaria's lawyer, Sutton Whitfield, arrived 30 minutes later. Lucas had called her immediately. She reviewed the USCIS notice, listened to the situation, and delivered the hard truth. "A real marriage won't fix this overnight. USCIS is already investigating. If they think you're rushing to legitimize a fraud, it makes everything worse. We need evidence that this relationship is genuine. Photos, joint accounts, witnesses, a timeline that proves this wasn't a green card scheme." Lucas and Zarya looked at each other. They had some of that, but not enough. Not yet. Sutton continued. And there's another problem. Gideon Park. Lucas's jaw clenched. What about him? He's the one who reported her, and he's offering USCIS a deal. If you sign over the neural network patents, he'll withdraw the complaint. Lucas stood, his hands fisting at his sides. He's blackmailing us. Sutton nodded. Technically, yes, but it's legal blackmail. You have a choice, your company or your family. Lucas looked at Zarya, at the twins clinging to her, at the life he never knew he wanted until it was right in front of him. His voice was steady, certain. There's no choice. Gideon Park sat in his corner office at Quantum Dynamics, a predator's smile on his face. He'd been watching Lucas Hahn for years, envying him, resenting him, waiting for an opening. And now he had it. The neural network patents were worth $500 million, and all it took was a little digging, a few phone calls, and one anonymous tip to USCIS. Lucas received a formal meeting request from Gideon. They met at a neutral location, a private dining room at the Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort just outside Sioux Falls. Gideon was all charm and polish, ordering expensive wine, making small talk about the weather, the Sioux Falls tech scene, mutual acquaintances. Then he leaned back, smiled, and said, "I hear you're having some immigration troubles." Lucas's expression didn't change. "What do you want?" "The neural network patents. Sign them over to Quantum Dynamics, and I'll withdraw the USCIS complaint. Your companion can stay. Your family stays intact. Everyone wins." "Except me." Gideon shrugged. "You built an empire, Lucas. You build another. But those kids, they only get one childhood. And that woman, she'll be gone in 2 weeks unless you act." Lucas's hands clenched under the table. "You're willing to destroy innocent people for a business advantage? I'm willing to take what I've earned. You've had the market to yourself for too long. Consider this redistribution." Lucas walked out of the meeting without answering. He drove aimlessly for an hour, mind racing. The patents represented 5 years of research, development, investment. They were the foundation of Viridia AI's dominance. Losing them meant losing his company's future, but keeping them meant losing Zarya. He pulled over on a deserted road outside the city, gripped the steering wheel, and for the first time in 3 years, he broke. Not a few tears, not restrained grief. He broke. Sobs racked his chest, hands shaking, the weight of every choice, every failure, every fear crashing down on him. His phone rang. It was Jinho. The board called an emergency meeting. They heard about the patents. They want answers. Lucas didn't go home. He went straight to Viridia's headquarters. The boardroom was tense, 12 men and women in tailored suits, staring at him with varying degrees of concern and suspicion. The chairman spoke. "We've received an offer from Gideon Park. He's willing to pay $600 million for the neural network patents. Given the current complications with your personal life affecting company reputation, the board recommends we accept." Lucas stood at the head of the table. "No." "Lucas, be reasonable." "I said no." His voice was steel. "Those patents were developed under my leadership. They belong to this company, and I will not hand them over to a man who's blackmailing me." The chairman's expression hardened. "Then we may need to reconsider your position as CEO." Lucas didn't flinch. "Then do it, because I'm done choosing business over the people I love. I did that once. It cost me my wife, my children's mother, 3 years of their childhood, and nearly their ability to trust anyone ever again. I won't make that mistake twice." He placed a folder on the table. "My resignation, effective in 30 days. Jinho will assume CEO responsibilities. I'm stepping back." The room erupted. Jinho was speechless. The board members argued, protested, demanded explanations. Lucas walked out. He drove home, walked into the penthouse. Zarya was on the couch, the twins asleep in her lap. She looked up, fear in her eyes. What happened? Lucas knelt in front of her, took her hands. I chose you. I chose them, and I'd make the same choice 1,000 times over. Tears streamed down her face. Lucas, your company is just a company. You're my family. He kissed her forehead, then stood. Now we fight, together. Sutton Whitfield was relentless. While preparing for the custody case, she subpoenaed Vanessa's medical records, something Lucas specifically asked her not to do. But Sutton didn't work for Lucas, she worked for Zarya, and she played to win. When the records arrived, Sutton called Zarya immediately. You need to see this. Zarya sat in Sutton's office, reading the file, page after page of psychiatric evaluations, hospitalization records, medication logs. The diagnosis was clear: postpartum psychosis with major depressive episode. Vanessa was admitted to Mercy Medical Center 1 week after she left the twins. Involuntary commitment. She'd called Lucas from a hotel room, incoherent, talking about disappearing, about how the world would be better without her. He'd had her committed, paid the hospital to keep it quiet, signed NDAs with staff, protected Viridia's stock price, and then never told anyone. Zarya felt like she'd been punched in the chest. He lied to me. Sutton's voice was careful. He may have been trying to protect her privacy, or his company's reputation. Sutton didn't argue. Zarya drove home in a fog. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. She'd spent months believing Vanessa was a monster, a woman who chose ambition over her children. But the truth was so much more complicated. Vanessa was sick, desperately, dangerously sick. And Lucas hid it. Why? To protect her, or to protect himself? When she got home, Lucas was in the kitchen with the twins making dinner. They were laughing. Noah was covered in flour. Mia was singing. It was perfect, domestic, real. And Zarya wanted to scream. She waited until the twins were in bed. Then she confronted him. Why didn't you tell me? Lucas looked up from his laptop, confused. Tell you what? She threw the file on the table. About Vanessa, about the hospital, about the fact that she didn't just walk away. She was sick, Lucas, and you hid it. His face drained of color. Where did you get that? Sutton subpoenaed her medical records, which you specifically told her not to do. Why? Because you didn't want me to know the truth? Lucas stood, ran a hand through his hair. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you let me believe she was a villain so I'd feel better about replacing her. That's not fair. Fair? Her voice rose. You let me judge her. You let me think she was selfish and cruel. And all this time, she was suffering. She needed help, and you buried it. Lucas's voice was raw. You're right, I buried it because I was ashamed, because I failed her. I saw the signs, the crying, the detachment, the way she looked at the twins like they were strangers, and I ignored it. I told myself she just needed time, that she'd adjust. And when she called me from that hotel talking about how she couldn't do this anymore, how she wanted to disappear, I panicked. I had her committed. I signed papers. I made it go away. And then I told myself I'd done the right thing, that I'd protected her, protected the twins, protected the company. He sat down heavily. But the truth is, I protected myself from having to admit I'd pushed her into something she wasn't ready for, from having to face the fact that I'd failed as a husband. Zarya stared at him. You should have told me, from the beginning. You should have trusted me with the truth. Lucas looked up, eyes red. I was afraid that if you knew, you'd see me the way I see myself, as someone who destroys the people he loves. Zarya's voice was soft, broken. I need some time. She walked to the guest room, the door closed, and for the first time in months, she slept alone. Lucas sat in the dark kitchen, the file open in front of him, staring at the words he'd tried so hard to forget. Zarya didn't sleep. She sat on the floor of the guest room, the file spread out around her, reading Vanessa's intake notes, the doctor's observations. Patient presents with severe mood dysregulation, auditory hallucinations, and intrusive thoughts of harm to self. Immediate intervention required. This wasn't a woman who chose to leave. This was a woman who was drowning, and Zarya had in her hands the proof that could destroy her in court. The question was, should she use it? Morning came. Zarya met with Sutton at a coffee shop away from the penthouse. Sutton was blunt. These records are a nuclear option. If we submit them, Vanessa loses everything. Custody, her campaign, her reputation. The judge will see her as unstable, unfit. Lucas gets primary custody, you stay, case closed. Zarya stared at her coffee. And what happens to her? Sutton frowned. What do you mean? What happens to Vanessa if we destroy her publicly, if we take away everything she's been working toward? That's not our problem. Our job is to protect you and those kids. Zarya was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I grew up in foster care. Do you know what that's like? Sutton shook her head. It's a system designed to help children, but when it fails, when people give up on you, label you as broken, decide you're not worth the effort, it destroys you, not quickly, slowly. You learn that you're disposable, that love is conditional, that family is something other people have. She looked up, met Sutton's eyes. Vanessa was sick. She needed help, and instead of getting it, she was hidden away and then blamed for everything that went wrong. If we use these records, we're doing the same thing the system did to me. We're deciding she's too broken to deserve grace. Sutton leaned back. So what do you want to do? Zarya took a breath. I want to offer her a deal. Therapeutic co-parenting. She completes treatment, real long-term treatment, residential if needed, therapy, medication management, and as she stabilizes, we increase her time with the twins. Supervised at first, then gradually more. Lucas keeps primary custody, I stay as their primary caregiver, but she gets a chance to heal and to be part of their lives, on the condition that this stays private. No media, no campaign optics, just healing. Sutton was quiet. Then, you're giving up a guaranteed win. No, I'm choosing the right win. Those children don't need a destroyed mother. They need one who's whole. Sutton set up a mediation meeting. Neutral location, a conference room at a family law practice in Des Moines. Vanessa arrived with her lawyer, prepared for war. When Zarya presented the proposal, Vanessa's first reaction was suspicion. Why would you do this? Zarya's voice was calm. Because I know what it's like to be written off, and because those kids deserve to know their mother, the real one, not the one who was drowning. Vanessa stared at her. For the first time, the armor cracked. I was sick. I didn't know how to ask for help, and when I finally did, it was too late. It's not too late now. Vanessa's hands trembled. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I can't be the mother they need? Zarya leaned forward. Then you get help, real help, and you keep trying. That's all any of us can do. Vanessa asked to speak to Zarya alone. The lawyers left. It was just the two of them. Vanessa's voice was raw. I hated you. When I saw you with them, when Mia called you mommy, I hated you so much I couldn't breathe. Zarya nodded. I know. But you're giving me a chance anyway. Why? Zarya was quiet for a moment. Then, because someone once gave me a chance when I didn't deserve it, and it saved my life. I'm just paying it forward. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I can ever be what they need. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present, and willing to heal. Vanessa agreed to the terms. Residential treatment, weekly therapy, supervised visits, no media, no campaign appearances involving the children. When she left the mediation, she stopped in the doorway, looked back at Zarya. Thank you for seeing me as a person, not just a problem. Zarya nodded, and for the first time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, they could all heal from this. The custody hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later, but the night before, Lucas made a decision. He called an emergency board meeting at Viridia AI. The conference room was packed. Board members, investors, Jin-Ho, even Madam Choi. They expected him to present a plan to salvage the patents, to fight Gideon Park's blackmail. Instead, Lucas stood at the head of the table and said, I'm stepping down. The room erupted. Protests, questions, demands for explanation. Lucas raised a hand, and the room quieted. 3 years ago, I lost my wife. I thought I lost everything, but I was wrong. I lost my partner. My children lost their mother. But I still had my company, my control, my empire. And I told myself that was enough, that if I could just build something great enough, strong enough, it would fill the void. He paused, looked around the room. But it didn't. It never did. I was a father in name only. I hired 99 people to raise my children because I was too broken to do it myself. And they suffered because I chose control over connection, power over presence. His voice strengthened. Then a woman walked into my home, and she didn't fix my children with money or schedules or strategies. She fixed them by staying, by showing them that love isn't a transaction, it's a choice, every single day. He placed a folder on the table. Gideon Park wants my patents, and if he doesn't give them to me, he'll have the woman I love deported. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm stepping down as CEO, effective immediately. Jin Ho will take over. I'm transferring my controlling shares to a family trust, managed by my mother and Zaria Clark. And I'm signing over the neural network patents to Zaria, not to Gideon, to her. Silence. Then Jin Ho, voice shaking, "Lucas, you can't." "I already have. The papers are filed. Gideon can try to take them from her, but he won't, because I'll spend every dollar I have protecting her." Madame Choi stood, tears streaming down her face. She crossed the room, took her son's face in her hands. "I'm so proud of you." Lucas drove home. It was nearly midnight. He found Zaria sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. They hadn't spoken properly since the fight about Vanessa's records. The distance between them felt like miles. He sat beside her, not touching, just near. "I signed over the patents." She looked at him, eyes wide. "What?" "To you. They're yours now. Gideon can't touch them without going through you, and he won't, because you're untouchable." "Lucas, your company is just a company. You're my family." Her breath caught. "You gave up everything." "No." He turned to face her fully. "I gave up the things that didn't matter. I kept the things that do." He took her hands. "I'm in love with you, Zaria, not because of an arrangement, not because you're helping my children. I'm in love with you because you're brave and kind, and you see people, really see them, in a way I never learned to do. You saved my children, but more than that, you saved me." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm in love with you too, and it terrifies me." "Good, let's be terrified together." He leaned in, she met him halfway. They kissed, slow, deep, desperate. When they pulled apart, they were both crying, both laughing, both clinging to each other like they're the only solid thing in a spinning world. From the hallway, a small voice. "Does this mean Mommy's staying?" They turned. Noah and Mia stood there in their pajamas, holding hands, eyes wide and hopeful. Zaria knelt, opened her arms. They ran to her. Lucas wrapped his arms around all three of them. "Yeah, baby, Mommy's staying. Forever." The penthouse was different now. Lived in. Photos on the walls, the twins' first day of preschool, family trips to the Badlands, Thanksgiving with Madame Choi. Zaria's paintings, she'd taken up art, hung in the hallway. Lucas's home office had been converted to a playroom. Zaria sat on the couch, very pregnant, watching Lucas chase the twins around the living room. They were laughing, shrieking with joy. He caught them, swung them up, kissed their faces. Mia ran to Zaria, placed her small hand on Zaria's belly. "When is the baby coming, Mommy?" "Soon, sweetheart, very soon." Noah climbed into Lucas's lap. "Will the baby look like us?" Lucas ruffled his hair. "Maybe, or maybe like Mommy. We'll love them no matter what." A knock at the door. Vanessa entered. It was her scheduled visit. She was different too. Softer, healthier. She hugged the twins, asked about their week, listened with genuine interest. She and Zaria exchanged a look. Not friendship, not yet, but understanding, respect. Later, after Vanessa left, after the twins were in bed, Lucas and Zaria sat together on the couch. His hand rested on her belly. The baby kicked. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Terrified," she laughed. "Good, me too." He kissed her forehead. "We'll figure it out, together. Together." Outside, the city lights twinkled. Inside, a family, imperfect, messy, real, settled into the peace they fought so hard to find. Now I'd like to hear from you. What would you have done in Zaria's position? Would you have shown Vanessa mercy or used those medical records to win? And do you think Vanessa received a fair treatment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and smash that like button if you enjoyed this story and want more. I'll see you in the next